to do that engage.
Yeah, he was flying all over the place. Very strong stuff from Tyrus there. Now let's talk about this draft that we have coming up in a moment. We've mentioned some of these signature heroes, but the way that that actually feeds into the pick ban order is kind of interesting. You can see G2, they're still banning away Fortress. They're not going to say, all right, we're going to take off, you know, your Rona straight away here.
Yeah, so I like the ban, the Finn ban by SK. They did their homework. They don't want to put Keanu on that Finn since he's been so proficient with it. So I think G2 here will secure support, maybe Lance potentially. Yep, they're going to take the Lance, and SK will probably go with Adagio or Lyra. I think they'll probably pick the Lyra here because they like the heal comp with a weapon power melee person.
Whoa!
Vox
okay.
instead, okay.
And Vox is a pick we've been seeing get banned more and more frequently these last couple of days. So it's you know, not terribly surprising to see it picked up here, but kind of surprising to see so much of an emphasis on it in general.
Yeah, Vox is very mobile. He can dodge the roots with his Sonic Zoom. The Samuel ban makes a lot of sense because SK Tyrese has an amazing Samuel. So let's see what they're going to decide here. They'll probably pick up support, potentially Arden. There's Lyra open as well. But I think they will most likely pick the Lyra because it makes a lot of sense with what they want to play usually. They want to play a double range poke comp, like Scarf, etc. If they want to engage, they will go with the Arden.
Alright, well, as they choose what they want, having the Vox means we're very likely not going to be seeing one of those melee laners unless they decide to put the Vox in the jungle, which I think is extremely unlikely.
Captain Vox, baby.
Adagio's open too, so they're going to go with Lyra. G2 here, I think they should pick Glaive. Glaive is so strong, so I don't know if I'm Doom plays that, but I think... I'm Doom, sorry. If Dark Potato plays Glaive, but Glaive with Lance would be really good here. Kestro CP is very good against Lyra because there's no front line.
Dark Potato is one of the OG Glaives in Europe.
He is?
No worries,
Okay.
he plays it, for sure. I mean, I don't know if he plays it right now. He might have kind of fallen off of the Glaive wagon a little bit, but back in the day, he really had a preference for that pick alongside, like, Kroll. So I know he's got the chops for it.
Yeah, I mean, they might go with CP Kestro if Dark Potato, but he likes tanky comps. Like, he likes another tank, like Cruel potentially here, or Glaive. Okay, there we go, Glaive. They like playing double tank warrior comps versus an assassin, and then round out with, like, a super hyper carry like Celeste. Hundor is on Celeste, though, and we know with his performance on mages lately, this might be a struggle.
Yeah, coming into today, they had only played Celeste once, and so it's definitely not one of their go-to picks, to say the least. But now SK, with their final selection, is going to be, again, very likely a pick for...
Petal, probably, I would say. Because
Yep.
it counters a Glaive, and it can jump around the Lance. So Petal will probably be a good pick, unless they want to pick CP Kestro and play the range game here. But Lance and Glaive is really good into CP Kestro.
And we'll have to see.
5 seconds
I
of
think
bonus
the Petal
time.
would be a good pick, but they're going to go Alpha. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, Alpha is not that good into Lance. If the Lance knows what he's doing, he can Githian wall.
I saw your tweet.
Yeah, that prime direct if you time it correctly. There's a lot of plays that Lance can do. Glaive can afterburn
Yep.
Alpha away when she's ulting and not even land the ult. There's a lot
Not
of
only
things
that,
they
but
can do.
you have triple stun, and if Alpha doesn't get to use her ultimate before she goes down, then that's just so much for damage taken off the fold. So I think the Alpha pick is very, very risky here.
How should they execute on it, though? Like, does it make sense to maybe mix it up and go for a weapon build? Is Crystal still the right path? How do you find the angles? Because we've talked about, for example, earlier we had a game with Kroll, and we were saying you just need to be sneaky, get around the edge, flank maybe. Can that work here?
Yeah, they want to engage with Alpha or do a portal engage where the portal is done point blank and it cuts off the Celeste escape, and then let Vox jump on Celeste. They need to kill Celeste in this matchup here every time.
Yeah, if they get the Alpha just to a point where she's a threat, that's so much that has to be focused onto Alpha. It can kind of free up the Vox to do a lot of damage, so I think that's really kind of the mentality here.
All right, guys, predictions heading into game 1 of the finals.
I like G2's draft, but Hundor on Celeste needs to play really well.
Yeah, I like G2's draft, but I think it's going to be SK.
For a similar reason, or?
Very similar. Yeah, it's
Okay.
the Celeste I'm just not sold on.
All right, guys, let's head on to the Halcyon Fold for game number 1 of our finals, G2 versus SK, handing it on over to Dalcian Forecourt Jester.
Oh boy, Forecourt. This is Dark Potato's Lance. It's been a while since we've got to see his jungle Lance, but it was definitely a talking point of Split 1 for G2.
And Dark Potato, again, melee jungle fame. That's a big thing for me here as well. I'm a little surprised he's not the one on the glaive, but I'm very happy to see Jungle Lances out there. We've seen some fantastic results from these guys in the past, and we'll have to see if they can duplicate that here again.
100%. And, you know, with the, I guess, the change in weapon power laners and CP laners becoming a little bit more viable, I guess, in 2.3, because weapon power laners are, I want to say they got nerfed a little bit with the attack speed changes. I think that was kind of the way things went. If I didn't misread the meta shift, it was more a case of weapon power laners were too strong in 2.2. Now in 2.3, everything's a little bit more balanced. But this
It ebbs and
Celeste has
flows.
been ebbs and flows. This Celeste has been uprising. We saw SK play it. Team Secret play it to some success, and then, you know, it didn't come through as it was banned by G2 in the last game. Now Hundor picking it up against SK. You have any thoughts about it?
Well, we've definitely seen the success parts of it. If you do have a heavy PO comp, you can really bring that glass cannon online. And Keanu, at this point, you know, with this Captain Glaive, we got Dark Potato on that lance. I think it's bigger lance than it is Glaive, at least in my eyes, because you can be offensive and defensive. You can look for combos with it, but you can also peel very nicely. And Vox is a little bit more of a ranged hero, right? If he wants to get in, he wants to focus down Hunter, he's going to have to get into that minefield range. And Alpha, if Alpha comes in, you got the core collapse, you can stop up aggression.
Yeah, no, 100%. As well as, you know, Sweej, I think, mentioned it on the desk, but also has a great video on his Twitter if you ever want to stalk Sweej on Twitter, of Giffian War countering the Prime Directive. Like, it's no secret that Giffian War can counter pretty much any dash, any jump on top of, and all those kind of movement abilities. But for G2, they have a lot of ways to kind of stop SK getting onto their backline. If they execute right, then Hundor can be kept very safe.
And that's going to be the big kind of theme here for G2. Keep Hundor safe. Now, he's not hyper farming, quote, like what we saw a little bit earlier on with our Celeste, but there's going to be a nice even distribution of gold. If Dark Potato comes in through here with that Impale, with that Afterburn, and
almost the Wombo combo, they miss out on the Impale, so that would have been perhaps the difference between a kill and no kill. Cavalifar just about escapes. Actually, it's Tyros coming into the lane. They're going to spot Dark Potato in this lane. Oh, there's the aggression coming out. Tyros knocked away by the Giffian Wall. Good timing from Dark Potato, and everyone's just going to back off at this point.
All right, so they back off. That was almost the Wombo combo right there, but there's three distinct sets of crowd control available here to G2, right? You have that Afterburn that you set up with Keanu into an Impale, the Githian there from Dark Potato as well, plus Hundor and the Core Collapse. So any combination of that, if they catch Cavalifar, could be a very dead Vox. If they find the Core Collapse from a Prime Directive or a Githian Wolf on that Prime Directive on top of Tyra as well, that is going to stop up a lot of the aggression here from that Alpha as well. Might not be a straight-up kill because of the infinite reboot, but it really buys you a lot of time to get repositioning off, and the team will kind of scramble to protect their robot as she's trying to come back into life. So SK got to be very, very light on their feet. They got to make sure that nothing chains down on top of them. And okay, Dark Potato beat me to it. I was going to say, we could even see a Dark Potato tension bow early to try to patch up some of the early game power, and in order to let Hundor have a bit of a smoother ride to mid game.
Oh, there's an Afterburn connecting onto Tyra's, but the Bright Bullet comes down to stop any further aggression onto their Alpha. It seemed like G2 didn't really want to go for the killing blow onto Tyra's because he has the infinite reboot available. They kind of want to focus either Jetpacks or Cavalifar down with their burst. And we've talked a lot about, I guess, G2's win conditions here, but we might have to hold it a little bit as Cavalifar does get knocked back, and he is in so much trouble. The Founder comes out, he's trying to get into the Sigil. Tyra's going to dive into the middle of the fight. Hundor able to get back, and here comes Dark Potato, tension bow, and the longest spear in the game, the Lance Impale, and that is going to be a first blood going over to Dark Potato.
I was really worried G2 was not going to clean that up. We held on to the Impale for so long. Dark Potato trying to out-mind game Cavalifar, but Kval really did get caught. He was towards the top half of the lane, a little bit past the halfway mark, and as soon as we had that cooldown come out, Keanu, he saw his opportunity and was able to make it happen. But, you know, fine, we popped out the boots. Dark Potato gets the kill. had to go a little deep for it, but kill secured, and that is more of what we do want to see, right? The CC into more CC into an insta-kill using this tension bow, and that's something G2 is going to have to do a lot more of over the next few moments.
So, bring it back to this point of win conditions here for Core. We talked about G2s and theirs, but what do you feel like SK are going to be looking to do to really start to take some advantages in these fights?
Tyrus has to be the disruption. He has to be into that backline, using that prime directive to keep Hundor mobile. If they can keep Hundor more moving than attacking, well, we're going to have a big power advantage there at SK.
Bit of an experience lead for Dark Potato means hits hit level 6 over Tyros. Now, level 6 doesn't really mean too much for a Lance apart from the absolute mobility that combat role can give you, the repositioning ability as well. And surprisingly, Jetpack's level 6 before Tyros. That's not something you see very often, is your roam hitting level 6 before your lane or your jungle, but somehow Jetpacks has managed it here. Wow, okay.
He's been present for quite a bit of this farm here in lane. At the same time, Kvow did die, right? So Tyrus came up into that lane there as well. And that's just more ambient into Jetpacks. But you're right, it is rather off-putting a bit to see that level 6 first. But a lot of these guys are going to be playing catch-up now as well, because you're going to be finding the 6 on Tyrus. He just found it there. Kvow, 1 or 2 minions, he's going to get his 6 there as well. Not a huge window or game-ending window, but it's certainly an oddity.
Very, very interesting. Kavalifar hits his level 6, as does Tyros, but Kiana Nakoa going to find Tyros in his jungle. Afterburn comes through. G2 not going to chase too deep into the jungle, worried that Crystal Sentry can do a lot of damage. We saw it over in VGL, a bit of an on-hit Lance build. A bit of a fight breaking out though. SK looking for the engage. The wait for it goes out. It silences everyone. Kiana Nakoa in trouble. Here comes that termination protocol. Can it get the damage? It does find Kiana Nakoa. Kefalifar able to find the attack. Does Tyros go down? No, he survives. Prime directive onto the backline. A double kill comes forward. But Kefalifar and SK get the extended fight they needed to find an ace.
And Tyros, right? Star of that one. He gets into the back. He actually has one of the very few termination protocols that have actually hit over the last few weeks that I've personally gotten to see. I mean, a lot of the time, it's just that threat of it, but this time he landed on 3. He was able to get back up. Even Hundor throwing through with the Solar Storm. Not enough to keep Alpha down, and they're able to clean up from there. So again, Tyra's into the back, making sure that these guys are stutter step and trying to kite out Alpha, but if she can still land that damage, that is such a setup for Kvow, because they're going to collapse on top of the Alpha. Now Kvow is in range. They're not focusing him. He has some great resonance. He has some great auto attack damage, and he's sitting on 2 items here as well. I mean, Tyrus has that Aftershock, but 2 item Kvow and counting. This is what SK need.
Yeah, no, it's a definite good start for them. As soon as that level 6 Alpha came out, level 6 Vox, it felt like SK were ready to make a team fight work, and when the silence goes out from Kavalava and hits all 3, then the disengaged potential that G2 have, this kind of kill potential onto Hundor, becomes a lot less, and that gives Tyros a great window of opportunity to really find some burst. And
as we go forward into the next matchup, well, we'll have to see if SK can pull a win out of their hat there again. Jetpacks didn't even have the Arcane Passage that fight. He'd used it previously just to make sure that some of this counter-aggression was a bit more dangerous, and G2 did respect it. But if we can get Jetpacks in with that Arcane and Tyrus can follow through, that's even a bigger advantage for SK.
Well, Siege coming out from G2. Tyros positioning aggressively. Ultimate's available for SK, and they may want to try and get into the fight here. Could use that Arcane Passage to get right onto the backline. Prime Directive goes in. Tyros is in the middle of the fight. Core Collapse will lock him down for now, but Kavalifa's on the sideline and the Resonance is bouncing. Kiana Nakoa knocks him away. Tyros by himself, but the Termination Protocol at the last second, and that's going to be Hundor blown up. Kavalifa able to chase on out, just pushes the rest of G2 back. But this is such great aggression coming out of SK, and this kind of this signature Lance pick from Dark Potato. Jungle Lance just hasn't quite had the impact that we've been used to seeing.
Well, the early game was, the theory was there, just we didn't get more than 1 kill out of it. Like, G2 was not able to use their early game to advantage. Like, you have a really good CC chain. You have a tension bow first here from Dark Potato, right? You need to be consistently applying pressure, looking for jungle invades, like finding those invades, but you even saw it, like they caught Tyrus once, and they kind of backed off. They didn't want to throw down the damage on top of him. So they weren't able to get anything really out of it early game. They weren't able to pressure lane. They refused to kind of look for towers by himself. And, well, now you're going to be looking at a power deficit coming up because Dark Potato is going to be struggling for a second item.
Yeah, and another issue I feel that G2 are facing is kind of Kiana Nakoa on this roam glaive, Captain Glaive, is nowhere near as impactful as the utility glaive we see come out of the jungle because he has to itemize it to Fountain and he has less gold available to him, less gold income. You know, he's gone for the Atlas second item, perhaps looking for War Tread's third or perhaps some cooldown reduction to try and get that Afterburn up and running. But look at the power that just came out of SK's purchases. They've got the Broken Myth now onto Tyras and fusions onto everyone. Kavalafar very close to hitting a third damage item as well, and I feel like G2, they're a little bit scared to fight at this point after losing so decisively in the previous team fight.
Well, their big strategy is keep Hundor safe, right? He's a big glass cannon, needs to be kept very safe in these fights because otherwise he's just going to drop. I mean, he has one defensive item, and it's really up against the Alpha because she's not going to be building armor, almost guaranteed. Does take a turret for it because, again, a lot of power does reside on top of Hundor, but yeah, if they can't keep him going, it's not going to work.
Tyra's just threaded the needle with that Prime Directive and dodged out all the roots coming through, but finally something hits and Tyra's jet's blown up. He's still alive! Can he get the kill? Will he go down? Yes, he does. Then the impale on to Kavalafar means trouble for him. Jetpack's last man standing. He has no passage to escape. Giphy War will not stun perhaps Dark Potato Chasers, but wow. Tyra went so deep, and this time, unfortunately, SK just weren't able to follow up.
Well, he didn't pop the termination protocol. Unfortunately, not getting that off is a big power loss. It's a big pressure loss in those fights there as well. Yeah, he went deep, but that's kind of what he has to do. He has to make sure that Hundor is kept in line. And Kavalafar is really trying to follow this up with the damage, with the resonance, right, and all that. But we've built into armor, at least on Kiana. We're going to be building armor, I bet, into Dark Potato, but not having that blow-up potential from Tyras was a big detriment to SK that fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tyras is kind of the what am I looking? Missing link of this composition. When it goes well, it goes great for SK. They blow up a key target and they win the team fight. If it doesn't, then G2, their peel game works and they're able to follow through.
All right, there's the armor for Dark Potato because, again, we're just going to be sitting on top of this Tenshabo, and I'm starting to think more and more that Dark Potato's not really here for the clear. He's not really here for the damage. He's just here to get impales, get those Githians, and see what we can do and open up for Hundor because he's 3 items, has that Aegis. Again, you're likely not to see armor on him, but Dark Potato's aggressiveness, his damage output has certainly been curved down more in favor of these defensives.
Right, Boa goes down, preventing G2 from going for an immediate engage. They could look for one here now if they wanted to, but more likely to try and react to Tyras and his aggressive prime directives. Setting up a minefield on top of themselves, they are going forward. They have to be careful they don't overcommit to a fight, as if Tyras is able to get onto Hundor, blow him up, then it's all done and dusted. Their main damage source deleted. But SK are waiting out this team fight.
Hundor's farm has really paid off here as well. The hyper carry-ish nature of it. 170 last hits, 14 minutes. He's full 3 items. Kval's still sitting on 2. Tyra's sitting on 2 plus defensives. And yeah, it really is coming into the Hundor show. A lot of this will be Tyras versus Hundor. If Tyras can successfully keep Hundor from really performing in these team fights, it's going to be a G2 game. Well, it's not going to be a G2 game. It's going to be an SK game. If Hundor can successfully ward off the attempts and keep himself alive and the PO is real, it's absolutely going to be a G2 win.
This is very, very tense. 2,000 gold separate both these teams, and both teams are showing caution into initiating team fights here for court. No one really wants to be the one to pull the trigger, as they both kind of recognize that both sides have abilities to counter-engage, I guess, if things go wrong first time. So more just itemizing, looking for more items. We see that the war treads are now complete for Kiana Nakoa. Means they can charge right on into Kavalafar, maybe try and blow him up in a heartbeat if they land their wombo combo CC.
All right, so Canada's kind of like the scout at this point, but look at SK just pushing up and up. We do have Infusion here and the boots from Hundor, so his cooldown reduction's online. Let's see if it's enough.
And I love the way G2 are just consistently playing in this corridor here in the lane. It means that SK can't really engage because you put those Helo Genesis down, they turn Supernova, do so much damage. The Impale so easy to hit. The Giphian War as well does plenty of damage when you go weapon power lands. It just makes things so difficult. Playing to the strengths of the team composition in where you kind of place yourself on the map is a huge strength to G2's composition.
Yeah, they're taking very smart engages, and that's no different here.
Well, they do miss the Impale. Tyras is going to get knocked up against the wall. There's the Silence coming forward, and Hundor's getting targeted. Solar Storm flies out, but he manages to escape the Termination Protocol. Kavalafa knocked out, stunned, and blown up. He gets rooted. Oh, that Impale's so good from Dark Potato, and another kill goes the way of G2. Jetpack's core collapse, and a double goes Hundor's way. And that is what we were talking about for Core. The ability to play in those corridors. It works so well for Celeste. It works so well for Lance. It works so well for Glaive.
And G2 just went fishing and got a real big catch on that one, because over the wall, Keanu just goes right through it with the Afterburn. Hundor followed up with some mines, but playing around that area, I mean, they almost eliminated Tyrus just straight out the bat. He eventually hit the Termination Protocol, was able to still get back up, but by the time he went down to the time he stood up, Kavalafar melted. He had nothing really to stop the 3 damage pieces to come out through this one. And Keanu, before that fight, picked up his cooldown reduction. That's a big deal for those afterburn peels on top of it. And at the same time, like, again, Hundor had his cooldown reduction with the boots. He had the chargers picked up with the infusion right before fight. So that just worked out just pretty phenomenal for G2 overall. And Tyrus got sealed pretty hard.
Yeah, we're going to see another fight break out as Tyra's in a little bit of trouble. Jetpack's trying to slow down Hundor, and Hundor's trying to escape, but the Prime Directive lands, and Tyra's will find the kill. Kavalavar chasing down Keanu Nakoa. Tyra's looking for that Prime Directive, and he hits it across the wall, taking lots of damage, but that Termination Protocol is available, and the heals are coming out as well. That's going to be Dark Potato falling, Keanu Nakoa last man alive, but the Kraken, she is still pushing, and she's made her way into the base here, so SK are going to have to recall and look to deal with it. The ace comes through, Keanu Nakoa does get caught, but this will most likely be at least one Vein Crystal turret going to G2.
What a stark difference in a fight, right? Tyrus has free reign, is the engager, gets into that backline almost immediately, and G2 scattered. It's a huge difference from the setup that they had. It was all premeditated. They went fishing, they got that catch. But when Tyrus is the one to engage in the open like that with nothing to hide behind, it's just a stark difference of power.
100%. The area of the map that they fought in there was really, I think, the key difference that allowed Tyrus to be able to get and stick to Hundor. You can't group up. It's so much harder to hit your abilities because Tyrus has so many more pixels to move across.
Pixels, yeah. The measurements aside, G2, I don't know, man. Like, it's still anybody's game, but Tyrus is finding an engage.
Yeah, he wants another one. The silence goes out, but this is one of those areas that G2 can turn a fight around. And look at how far back Hundor is. There's the Solar Storm flying out. Termination Protocol, it's going to land straight onto Hundor, but the blow-up is not enough, and they've already taken down jetpacks. That's going to be Tyra's bursted before he reboots, and now Kavalafa has to piece on out. Got the journey boots, got the run. He's just trying to escape here, but he may get... Nope, Afterburn doesn't connect, and that means he will definitely be able to get away from this one. The journey boots unlocking again. There's the Sonic Doom, dodges on out. He's actually laying down a huge amount of damage, and he just has to keep running, just has to keep hiding, but it may not be enough. G2 are going to look for the finish right now. 14 seconds on Jetpacks. Kavalafa trying to be the man to 1v3. He's doing the work, but an Impale lands, and that's going to be him forced away from the Vein Crystal and taken on down by Dark Potato for the ace. G2 able to take game one of this final, but it was a hard-fought battle and a great setup for this final series.
Just back and forth, but location, Dowsy. First big fight that broke the G2 kind of bank and went into a huge lead from there was in the jungle area, right? Everybody comes back. Tyrus finds an engage out in the open and clear. SK take the fight, but the Tyrus going right into the corridor, played into the G2 rulebook right there, and they were able to just return the damage with interest. The Kraken had already pushed down one of the turrets, and as soon as the double kill went down, like, that was it. They just rushed it. They knew that SK could not hold with just Kvalifar, and they were able to pick up a win. So really decisive gameplay at the end of it. And again, Tyrus was really the big shining star for SK to do this, because Kvalifar with that Shiv, unfortunately, just not a big bang for his buck. It took him so long to get that third weapon item online, and even by the end of it, it was just too much. Like, look at the armor that Keanu had. Like, Keanu was always in the front. He was always the one just trying to keep Kvalifar at bay, but he had an Atlas, he had a coat of plates, we had another Atlas there on top of Dark Potato, who, by the way, like, quite the array of offensive items he had, Dowsy. But it worked out. Hundor, the glass cannon, we take game 1.
Yeah, and I actually think that Poison Shiv onto Kvalifar, perhaps not the best time to be purchasing it on Vox, but that's not my job to debate about. And we've got 3 very sexy-looking guys on a desk to take it away. So, Kappa Pride, over to you.
Ooh la la, Dowsy. All right, so that game was interesting. It was very back and forth. Definitely a worthy game for the finals. I think a few things really stood out to me, though. Big one I want to mention, 214 CS for Hundor in a sub-20-minute game. At like 13 minutes, he had, I think, like 160, something like that. He was being siphoned all of that farm. He was doing so much damage. He had 2 items so early.
Not only was he getting siphoned all this gold, but the team was doing such a good job of protecting him. Kvalifar with the Vox, just we said that was going to be their game plan, was try and just have that alpha be a distraction so that Vox can start running wild. He was never really able to get onto Hundor.
Yeah, and actually, let's have a look at a fight where we can see that happening. It's around the Kraken spawn. Look out for Lance's Impale here.
Yeah, this is a turning point of fight where they win. The G2 wins the fight and takes the Kraken here. But look at Celeste getting the damage in the second, the double Helio damage that's coming out. Tyrese lands a great alpha ultimate here, but look at the fountain that comes out from Keanu. Perfect timing on the ultimate, and then look at the stun and the root here. Root alpha mid prime directive. She gets rooted and killed, and then they get the kill here, and then they secure the Kraken. And then G2 turns it, SK then turns it around with an engage, but then by that time, G2 is already 2 ahead, and Celeste, Hundor played Celeste really well. He could have used in some points his stun sooner and his ultimate low sooner, but overall his Celeste play was very solid.
And to be clear, I meant the second Impale, not the missed one at the beginning of that fight. By the way, guys, we do have an update from our off-stream third place match. You can see here Team Secret is 1 game up over Fnatic, at least for the time being. We'll keep you updated as the series goes on. But let's refocus on this one.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention, like Dowsy said, Poison Shiv and Vox didn't make sense. You're going against a really squishy Celeste. It's better to build Sorrowblade crit along with Bonesaw if she builds armor. She had no armor, so he should have went straight crit burst damage. Poison Shiv is not the best in that situation.
Not only that, but there's, one of the big points of Poison Shiv, especially on Vox, is being able to apply the mortal wounds. There's not really anything you're applying mortal wounds onto to prevent healing from except for a Fountain of Renewal. So it's not the most ideal item in that situation.
There was an Eve of Harvest on Hundor's Celeste. I mean, maybe that...
But if you're not getting damage onto him in the first place, he's not even healing, so...
Just playing devil's advocate here for a second, because admittedly, in the right circumstances, Hundor would just heal back up, right? So maybe sometimes that would have an impact.
And one last note, EU teams, don't fight Lance in the jungle.
All right, let's have a look at another replay real quick whilst we're waiting for the second draft. You can see G2 here a little bit earlier on making some plays.
Yeah, making some plays and a slight mistake from Tyrus not getting that Termination Protocol off. But look how low he goes. He's at 137 health on the reboot before he gets back up, but just never gets above 500 health from that point on. And just really good job of SK of prioritizing the targets properly there.
So right now, I mean, G2 is looking fantastic overall. Like, I think based on the game before that and this game, like, they've gotten to their groove. They didn't warm up yesterday. Didn't have any games to play yesterday. I'm starting to think about Unified Championships a little bit more, right? Bacon, I know you're saying this is a critical game, in fact, for their point standings, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, G2, actually, with that win, they're going to be at the top of Europe at the end of this week now because they do have a tiebreaker over SK Gaming. So this is actually the 4th time these two teams have met. G2 historically has beaten them 2-1, 2-1, and 2-0. So it's they will be at the top of the standings, but SK is going to be right on their heels.
Now, speaking of Unified Championships, whilst we have this slight delay getting into the draft, we got to start thinking about the implications of it, right? For the players even. Because one thing we always talk about once we get to the Unified Championships is, okay, this player, seasoned vet, right? You know, he's been playing for a long time. He's gone to a bunch of live events. No problem. He's going to handle the pressure. Hundor, when have we seen him on live stage? He is the all-star player on this team in a lot of ways. I mean, they literally siphon farm onto him. Even when Dark Potato is playing something he's super good on. I wonder, like, are we going to see Hundor really rise to the occasion? Are we going to see him fall, right?
I'm also wondering, is this now that first round bye? How important does this become? Because if you're a player that has never been on the stage before, you get to at least be in that environment of what it's going to be like when teams are playing on the stage. You get to hear like how the crowd's going to be, and so that can kind of ease your nerves a little bit. If you have that first round bye, you don't have to play that first day.
All right, we have the draft kicked off here. Sweej, I mean, you've actually been in that scenario I was just describing.
Yeah.
How is it for your first time on stage? Like,
well, there's always some stage fright and nervousness for every player, so you won't play 100% focus because the audience is very distracting. So once you have your first match, though, things are pretty good from there because you can then refocus and block out the noise.
All right, well, speaking of blocking out the noise, let's stop talking about things that don't relevant to this draft. Don't relevant, man. Whew, okay, SK Gaming, ban away that Lyra, G2 Esports, take away the Fortress. What are SK going to first pick here?
They're going to take Lance. They should take Lance, and they need to deny the double support, double tank composition that G2 loves to run. G2 normally struggles, so you're going to take away the Finn, which is fine because Lance is actually not that good into Finn. Finn actually counters like Lance with double support tanky comps.
And
so
as I mentioned earlier, SK, while they have played a lot of Lance, they have not won a lot with Lance. So I'm definitely glad to see them kind of moving away from that hero a bit.
So G2 is now going to take the Vox and then ban the Samuel. And SK can now ban potentially, maybe if they don't want to deal with an Assassin or long-range hero, Kestrel could be banned here if they don't want to give G2 that CP Kestrel. So let's see what they decide. But SK has a lot of options. They can play a mage now with Celeste into that Vox, and she works really well. So they're going to decide to take away the Glaive because they don't want Keanu. Glaive actually was pretty good. So that was a smart ban by SK.
All right, so now G2, they could go for the Lance pick here. Again, Dark Potato has played a lot of Lance out of the jungle. They can play it out of the captain position as well, so wouldn't be too surprised if they go for that pick here. Even up against the Finn, I think it still works out for them.
Yeah, they'll probably go for something, like Lance Arden would work. So Lance is definitely one they're going to pick here. I wonder if they're going to surround it out with another tanky hero like Grumpjaw or Arden potentially. SK here has a lot of options. I haven't really seen him play a lot of mages, so I think they might opt for a Ringo Gwen composition here because Gwen is good into Lance and is outranges the Vox. So let's see what they decide to pick here.
Maybe I'm reading ahead a little bit too much here, but depending on what SK Gaming does, do you think we might see G2 Esports pick up like a jungle Scarf or something into that Finn?
They could. However, Scarf can get countered by a Finn because of the Quibble. He can stun and lock the Scarf down and stun a Scarf out of the ultimate. And that's potentially a hero that Tyrese can play. But Kestrel is still open, so one of these teams will probably take the Kestrel because she's open. And Adagio's open as well, but I doubt that they'll pick Adagio at this point based on the supports that they have. So I think that SK will most likely pick the Kestrel here unless they want to pick Petal with the Ringo.
I'm very surprised that SK have gone so far away from the melee laners. Like, that's what Kvalfar has been known for this season, especially. They've played so many of them, but now this week they haven't touched one at all. They have yet to play a single melee laner, and they may not get an opportunity to if they can't find a win here.
It's a very good point. SK Gaming do have their backs against the wall in the series. G2 Esports now thinking about their final pick on B side here. They still need either a captain or a jungler. It's going to be an alpha lock-in.
Yeah, Alpha could work. But again, Finn is pretty good. He can block the Prime Directive. He's pretty big. He can get in the way. He can stun her. He can give the fortified health. Kesh could then also set up traps and bait the Alpha to jump in, get bursted. So let's see how it's going to work out. So early game, SK wins. But actually, no, sorry. Early game, the Alpha, the Lance, and Vox would win the early game. And if they let CP Kestrel scale, then it's going to be a really tough match mid to late game.
So how do they avoid that? They just use that early game win to maybe pressure the lane, or is it more of a jungle thing in this instance?
Yeah, farm up. Once Alpha gets her Aftershock, they need to invade because that's a huge power spike for her, and they need to make some plays with it.
All right, Bacon, how is it going to work on the other side here?
I mean, really, it's going to come down to the jungle. Like, there's whoever can win the early game, whoever can out-trade in the early game is going to be able to grab that advantage. And so that it really just applies to both sides.
All right, guys, who do you think is going to take game number 2?
I really like CP Kestrel double range with Finn. It's going to work out really well for them.
I'm going to go for G2 here, I think. I haven't really been voting for them too much today, and I think I haven't been giving them enough credit.
Fair enough. All right, let's head on to the Halcyon Fold. This could be our final game for Europe. Let's hand it on over to Dowsey and Forecourt Jester.
Tasty Baking predicting G2. PogChamp SK1 Game 2. We'll have to see how this one goes. But, man, I've been loving the introduction of Finn into the 2.3 meta. It seems like a lot of teams are jumping on the Finn bandwagon, and for good measure as well, I think.
There's a lot of ebb and flow with Finn. I've definitely seen him at the top of the ladder. Definitely seen him more towards like a C rank hero. It really kind of depends on how much aggression is coming out, right? Because if you want to be aggressive early, you typically don't see these Finns. They might be very defensive. They might be great late game, but early, like we saw a slew of Lyras, Adagios, right? Double hewers, right? We've seen the fortresses. We've seen these Captain Lances, Captain Glaives, but poor old Finn, yeah, he's coming back. It's his time to shine again.
Oh wow, that damage onto Hundor early forces the potion as well out of him. And where's Tyra's? Sorry, where's the? Where is Keanu Nakoa and Dark? Yeah, Tyra's is the one throwing the glimmer shots out. Where's the rest of G2 at the moment? Hundor's just being left to his own devices here. He's not got the Book of Eulogies, which we sometimes see Voxes start if they're intending on going down a lifesteal route, which means that the potions he's going to start having to chug through them. He has got 3 in his pocket as he started armor, but that's some good early aggression coming out of SK.
Yeah, they get, a potion out of it. They try to curb down the farm a bit there of Hundor, but ultimately I'm not really convinced that too much is going to be coming of it. But aggression can definitely set a little bit of a seed of fear in your opponent's eyes. If they're consistently feeling like they're on the back foot, well, maybe they will actually start playing like they are.
Yeah, no, I think SK definitely a team that can turn things around as well if they feel like they're on their back foot. So, like everyone, almost all of the VG8 teams are very capable of recognizing when they need to step up their level of gameplay due to the fact that they're perhaps not performing at what they expect they should be able to.
Now, just like what Sweet Generous there did mention, Finn with a double range, I'm actually okay with this comp. I really do like this idea here as well. The sieging capabilities is, early on is something to be feared here, especially with the Ringo, with that CP, Kestrel, get a few crystal bits on top of her, and like all of a sudden the creep wave evaporates. K-Val will get the last hits, but the incidental damage, the sieging on top of the turret there as well, every little bit goes a long way. And if G2 decide enough is enough, they engage, they have to get the jetpacks in order to make something happen out of it.
It does make me question though if Finn is good enough to peel away an alpha that Dark Potato is bringing to the game here. Obviously the Prime Directive just gives so much gap closing ability to the alpha, and whilst Finn can lay down polite companies for the fortified health to try and prevent some of the burst damage comes out, the Quibble sometimes a little bit slow, and alpha can just jump and dance around a fight.
Jetpacks is going to have to be really predictive of where some of these are going to be landing. Like the Quibbles for sure. You get that stun, it's a big stomp up of that momentum there from Dark Potato. Really breaks up the combos. But if he misses, yeah, absolutely, there's not going to be a real big impact from jetpacks there. As well, like if Alpha or Tyrus, they get jumped and they just kind of like a beeline for base and they leave jetpacks on the front line, that's not going to be doing them any favors either. So you really do have to trust in jetpacks, that fortified health, and trust him to land the Quibbles here to stop up Dark Potato. But in general, no, I would say that on average, I think a Finn could easily get outplayed by an Alpha.
Yeah, okay. So something to keep eyes on as G2 put all 3 members into the lane. SK rotate down to get themselves that fountain early. Tyra's starting to build towards his damage item. He's going to get caught a little bit by Dark Potato. Tries to snipe away the Treant, but won't be able to get the heal from it as Hundor secures it. Jetpacks is pushed up, but he's on top of a scout trap here. And it looks like G2 are going to charge forward into the lane, chase him back to where he belongs.
No, just making sure that there's nothing fishy. Like, Kavalvar did not leave lane whatsoever on that one, so they know that the back should be safe. They pushed off up against Tyras, and they were notified of the Jetpack's kind of aggression right there. And some nice scout trap placement early on, and the fact that it didn't get popped either by Jetpacks, definitely a little bit more of a blessing going over to G2, since they still have that early warning detection system for any possible invades.
Yeah, a lot of itemization into trying to spot out this CP Kestrel, and it makes a lot of sense. Wouldn't be surprised if we see an early contraption as well from Keanu Nakoa, who, you know, a lot of people have been going into contraption, even if it's like not necessary to spot out stealth, just because of the cooldown it gives you. But this siege comes forward. Keanu Nakoa's in that active camo, does take huge damage, but he wants to go forward. He wants to lay down the hurt. Maybe a misstep. He's still alive, just about, and here comes Dark Potato into the backline, going to force the fountain out of Jetpacks, but he goes down. Calculated damage there from Keanu Nakoa, just knew his limit and was able to get away. Hundor, wow. Okay, I say calculated, but that was just a little bit lucky there, I think, for Hundor.
Oh, one shot? Nope. Oh, that was really a game of milliseconds on that one there, Dowsy. But I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Kavalvar, even in game number 1, now game number 2, is almost feeling like a non-existent force. Like last round, he was with that Vox, and he couldn't seem to really get past the front line. This game, like that fight, there was so much kill potential, I think, across from both sides. That there should have been like 3, 4, 5 people dead by the end of it there. But Kavalvar feels like he's almost playing scared today, which is very strange and not something I like to say, because typically he does really put forward those results. But the Vox game 1, now game 2, Ringo just not able to seal some of these kills feels very strange to me.
Well, he has got himself the Sorrow Blade now, and is itemizing towards a Tornado Trigger next, and so there's definitely chances left in this game for Kavalvar to step up. When we saw his Ringo earlier, it was definitely very impactful against Fnatic earlier on in the day, so there's still time left, windows of opportunity, we just have to wait for them. But Dark Potato's coming back in, another Impale lands onto Tyras, and he gets silenced. Oh, he gets destroyed, and Kavalvar just can't quite find the killing kill, the killing hit is what I meant to say there, onto Keanu Nakoa. Once more, Keanu Nakoa just gets away, and actually SK have to be a bit careful that they don't get Tower Dove.
Dark Potato, I think, really wanted to go tower dive in there, but one shot hits.
One shot does hit. Oh, good. Forced to call Kavalvar, though. They're just going to turn straight onto him. And there's times when you think to yourself, I don't mind getting pulled in because it's just going to put me closer to where I want to be.
And Tyra's now here to fill the void, but like Hunter has really been working on this tower. And that's Dark Potato.
Oh, he's got the Termination Protocol, so he's going to survive in here, and just damage onto Jetpacks. Can they blow him up is the question. He gets slowed down, Polite Company Quibble, but it's not enough to find the kill. Tyra's going to throw the Glimmer Shots out, but he's not in range. Boots up in 5, but can't risk running into the middle of the fight. So once more, another aggressive play from G2 rewarded. 4-0, a turret, and they're almost 3,000 gold up in the standings.
So, Kavalvar died in that one. It wasn't really his fault. Jetpack's bringing people in. It just looked like the Quibble really didn't connect where it needed to. Not that it's a stun Quibble at all. Like level 8, you might expect something more of that combo. But Kavalvar dies. Tyras comes in. Jetpacks dies. Tower goes down. Tyras just can't clinch the kill. So, SK, as bad as this might look for SK, on the flip side, it's just, again, masterful moves from G2. They're juggling out their health, and they are maximizing their damage output without going down.
Downfire Brew going to land onto Hundor on the backline. Does have poison ships, so a couple of ward attacks will certainly go his way in trying to heal himself up. But you're right, you know, and it kind of comes back to this Finn point that we highlighted earlier in the game, talking a bit about win conditions of both teams. Finn is... You have to be on point. You have to almost play prediction, especially against this Alpha. You know, in the previous game, Alpha was continuously shut down by the, I guess, masterful play from G2 to play in areas of the map that suited their team composition, and then just the amount of peel they had. This is strange. Jetpack's, you know, his contract play is one of its own. It's something very odd, but he's just picked up a Dragon Blood contract at 9 minutes into the game. I don't know what to make of that.
Well, a lot of these fights, again, are coming down to very, very small amounts of health left on G2. If a Dragon contract can, you know, break the bank, perhaps that's what they need, but it's such a small amount of damage. It's such a small amount of slow here at the 9-minute mark. It definitely has a much more of an impact earlier on.
Yeah, I guess the amount of times that Cavalify need one more auto attack to be able to secure a kill, perhaps that's the he's like, oh, I just need 10 extra damage, guys, 10 extra damage, and that would have been kills. So Jetpax is like, gotcha, buddy. But he's finished his tornado trigger now, so he's got attack speed, he's got crit, and now we'll have to see if it's enough to really push SK over the mark and find their first kill of this game.
And I feel that the Tornado Trigger is actually a reactionary kind of pickup. They don't have the time to build up a breaking point.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit reactionary. I think it makes sense because if Cavalify was to be the one, oh wow, that's just Hundor going to be
blocked.
very good block, crucial block. If those abilities hit at the same time, I could just imagine Hundor clenching, but a bit of time given to G2 to react, and they react perfectly. If Cavalify is the one being dived upon by an alpha, then it's very hard for him to survive in that scenario. So the Tornado Trigger makes more sense, a bit more bang for your buck early rather than a sustained fight.
All right, so we got a little bit more buildability here from SK with the War Treads pickup, but Keanu, he's going to be looking to solidify their positional advantages that they keep seeming to accrue, and he has himself that contraption. So it's good cooldown reduction there as well, more impales, more Githians, but it's also going to be affording a lot of vision, a lot of flares, and that's going to start creating like a wall that SK is going to have to either break through, or the wall will actually start advancing, and they're going to have much more constricted movements, much more constricted farming as G2 just continues to mine up the map.
I'm actually interested to see if Cavalify optimizes into a Bone Saw soon. He is going for more crit, so looking for more crit damage. He has himself that foot as well as a heavy steel, so that's two different items that he can build into. They don't build into the same, but Bone Saw's kind of necessary. Like, look at Dark Potato. He's already got a metal jacket. Not even going Atlas on the Alpha. Metal jacket.
Choice.
Very interesting. Hundor's also got some armor, obviously. Level 1, Tier 1 from level 1 when he purchased it, but will itemize into probably a level jacket of his own. And Lance, sorry, very naturally tanky as well. Not as much as he used to be, but certainly up there. I kind of feel like Cavalify needs the Bone Saw if he's going to really break through some of this armor.
Well, I have to see if that's going to be like his fourth item to go through, but all right, here's an engage.
Yeah, Quibble, 3-man stun, that's huge for G2, and Hundor just about gets out. One shot comes through, it lands onto Dark Potato, and no termination protocol to keep him alive. He will reboot, but will he sustain? Will he get away is the question. Cavalify certainly going to throw this Hellfire Brew out and look for a kill. It's going to land onto Hundor, but the reflex comes out. Crucible from Keanu to stop the burn. And look at Tyrus, he wants to find a kill, but once more, G2 down to the wire health bars at almost depleted. They managed to escape with their butts.
Intact, which is a very good state of your butt, because you always wanted to be intact right there, Dowsy. But, I mean, that one shot basically broke it.
Detachable butt sounds cool.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
all right. I'm going to ask you about that one off stream, but G2, they had their offense broken by the one shot right there. Like, without that termination protocol, Dark Potato did not have that revive ready, he did not have that damage threat, and that's really a big reason why G2 had to run from that one.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just, and that quibble from Jetpacks was so influential in just halting G2's ability. They're a very mobile team, G2, but if they ever get caught, their amount of damage that can be chucked their way is huge. Okay, so where are we at? What's the state of play? It's 4,000 gold, 5,000 gold for G2 at the moment. Another one shot comes out, but this time eaten up by Keanu and Nakoa, the man that you really want to be taking those in the face if anyone has to. In a minute, we do see the Kraken come. Cavalify, he's almost at his third. He has hit his third damage item now. Heavy steel still in his pocket. So is that going to be like a breaking point last item for him?
Late game, like if they start actually turning some of these fights, he could build into it. Like if we finally get to a point where some of these fights are going to be lasting longer, and they should be by all means. Like jetpacks has continued to accrue in power. That fortified health needs to start counting for something. He absolutely could throw it in, but at the same time, I think a double Solar Blade would actually be totally fine. But we have had that discussion about a Bone Saw as well. Like that armor punctuation, especially since Dark Potato is not bringing forth an Atlas. In fact, it's going to be Keanu to pick it up, but at the 14-minute mark, the Cavalvar has not needed that reflex. I'm not sure he still needs to even think of one here either.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. And a double Solar Blade definitely can pack a punch, but with the amount of armor that G2 have built up, I wonder if it's enough damage to really have the influence. We're going to see some infusions come out, and bit of a trap in wait as Cavalifar standing inside it. The active camera blows up here on Nakoa, but Dark Potato looking to come forward, looking for a bit more damage. Founder goes up, but it's not enough to keep Jetpacks alive, as basically SK left him for dead. And this is something you mentioned right at the beginning of the game might happen, is that, you know, Jetpacks is just left to dead by Cavalifar and Tyros, as they don't really want to be getting into a fight.
There was a lot of fear I felt right there from SK. It's just like, all right, well, Tyrus is coming in, Keanu, they're right there. Okay, we're gonna make some distance. All right, they move forward. We're gonna make some distance. Okay, Jetpacks is dead. Yeah, it's just whoops. Yeah, a little bit right there. But the mortal wounds actually is a big thing from there as well. Hundor just had a lot of freedom to focus down Jetpacks. Just kept reapplying it every time. Almost got that Kraken steal. And that it's not often you get to see like the strategy is kill the Finn. But with this poison shiv, you might actually make something of a decent go at it.
Yeah, especially when there's really no damage being thrown back at you. There's no risk for G2 to continue aggressing on top of it, and the breaking point stacks up so easily on the Finn that you start doing a lot of damage as well. This is go time for SK. We kind of have to see something now. We won't see anything ever. Hellfire Brew gonna fly out and hit onto Hunter, once more blocked up. Here comes the Kraken. They're standing in an active camo. Do they know it is the question? Can Tyros activate it? Is another.
Keanu.
That's going to be the one shot flying out. The Force Accord missed as well. The Kraken pushing forward as Cavalifar looks to try and find damage. Can't quite do enough to Keanu to find the kill though, but crit definitely there on Cavalifar. This Kraken will go down before the choke point turret is taken on out, so SK do buy themselves a couple more minutes in this game, but really it's G2 the show is this game, and oh my, they are in
Party
a bush hiding. Tyros is not going to take the bait. They would have spotted him, they have scout traps, but Tyros decides not to take the risk.
Oh, scout traps. Yeah, take a look at the minimap.
Yeah. Contraption. Keanu and Nakoa bird it really early on, obviously, against the CP Castro. They're going to walk into this. Oh, Crystal Sentry spotted them. But is it enough? No, Tyros gets bursted. Oh, Cavalifar gets destroyed. Crystal Sentry tried to save your lives, but you ignored his early warnings. The end is near. The world is ending for Court. The sky is falling, and G2 going to take this choke point turret.
That was how did he even see them is mystery. I think I'm gonna hold near and dear to my heart on that one. But G2 cleaving through immediately just dissolved Tyrus right there. But they're not gunning for a game over. They are waiting for this this minion wave to come in. That's a lot of extra seconds here to SK. Will that matter? I'm thinking no.
Well, Cavalifar Tyros are up, turrets are falling, but they're pushing them back from this last one. Dark Potato's low, but they're onto it. Hundor's been blown up. He's your sustained damage. That's going to be a Force Accord pulling them in, and Dark Potato's trying to do his best to find the kill onto the Vein Crystal. Pops the Termination Protocol, and it will blow up on top of it, but he gets taken on down. Keanu Nakoa getting sniped, but managed to roll. Ooh, the one shot doesn't quite find its mark, but here's the wall treads. They're going to chase down. Can Keanu Nakoa escape? It's gonna be his mad escape if he can, and he's making the fancy rolls. Milk, he's gonna dip and dive back towards, and it looks like he is gonna get the port back. So seconds, definitely the thing for Keanu Nakoa to survive. But wow, that was almost game over. SK have got a saving grace. What can they make of it?
I'm a little curious if Hundor was as caught off guard as I was when he went down, because his positioning could have definitely been a little bit more southward, a little bit more towards the bottom of the crystal rather than like the side, the east quadrant of it. But yeah, losing out Hundor really kind of was the godsend from SK. So they pick up that Kraken, the gold at least from it, and at the same time, you know, there was the defense here on top of it. Not an ideal spot from SK, but at the same time, their gold is still only about 3,000 between them. But because so much of the map is mined up, they have no control over their jungle. It's very hard for these guys to move forward even past this.
Oh, well, they are going to look for a fight here onto Dark Potato. Hundor's coming around the back. He's actually making a V-line straight into the base. He's going to get popped. No, he gets out of the active camo, and Tyros is caught out. First kill goes their way. Kavalava falls as well. And all is left for Jetpacks to stand still and let G2 do the formality. G2 in week 2 are able to take a 2-0 over SK Gaming. They're going to be walking home victors here today, Forecourt.
So again, this matchup, just today, this 2-0, like, not only was it great stuff from G2, I really do feel like that they've grown very much here as a team, but it felt very off from Kavalofar. Usually you see him with these big scores, usually see him as this big playmaker, but game 1 Vox, game 2 Ringo just seemed largely ineffective up against the comps that G2 were theory crafting and putting together. And with those double metal jackets and an Atlas at the end, I mean, he rightly so did not prioritize any kind of reflex block, but his last item, he sold that heavy steel, found himself a double Tyrants. This was a really good case for that bone saw that we mentioned a little bit early on. It just never really came to light. And Kavalfar overall just seemed, again, largely ineffective, which really, I feel, throws SK off because they're used to him kind of getting those kills, getting those plays, doing the damage, and, you know, maybe perhaps Tyrus, he cleans up, or Jetpacks finds a great play to set up, and it just wasn't there. So I don't know what's up with SK today, but again, on the flip side, G2, fantastic stuff, some really smooth moves from them, and I really do feel like they came together as a team this week.
Yeah, 100%. G2 will be taking home pole position this week, and be great to see how that affects the standings, as we've only got one more week of seasonal play before we head over to those Unified Live Championships in May, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Well, that is us done for Court. We'll be back next week, of course, for some more Vainglory action. Let's throw it back to the desk to round off EU.
Thank you very much, guys. Looking forward to your next casts, and also looking forward to some more games later on for North America. Let's break this one down first, though. G2 have looked incredibly strong today. I think the question of